gamers? How's it going? Guys, we have to make a new tier list video. I haven't made a tier list video in a while. The reason for that is, as some of you know, I've been pretty burnt out on Master Duel in the past couple of weeks. I've started playing a bit more recently, but I still didn't feel comfortable making like a full-on format tier list really for this format. I'll probably make one after we get the next box, and I'll start playing a bit more. I'll have a bit more free time for a bit, and I'll just get reaccustomed to the format. I have been playing a bit more though, and also we recently got a new ban list that hit a lot of staple cards, so I actually felt like it was a really good time to make a staples tier list. The last one I've made was many months ago. It is very outdated, and so I thought it would be an awesome opportunity to just talk about staples. And honestly, they've changed a lot over the course of the past few months, especially with the release of Tenpai recently, really switching up a lot of how the game is played. So yeah, that's the reason I really do feel like it's a good time to make a staples tier list. And I've also been getting a lot of people in chat asking for a new tier list video. So I figured, you know what, I can feed the tier list algorithm a little bit. We can do a staples tier list. So we're going to be ranking a bunch of staples, but before we get into that, this video is sponsored by Marvel Strike Force, the ultimate squad-based RPG that brings all your favorite Marvel heroes and villains right to your screen. You can use my link in the description to download Marvel Strike Force right now. And if you're not familiar with it yet, Marvel Strike Force is a free mobile RPG that lets you build and customize powerful teams with iconic Marvel heroes and villains. New players can unlock up to 17 characters within the first 30 days, including iconic heroes such as Spider-Man, Deadpool, Thor, Captain America, and way more. You'll strategize and battle through immersive PvE and PvP modes, and making it perfect for both casual and hardcore Marvel fans. This game isn't just about picking the strongest character, it's about finding the best combination to amplify your team's power. Pair a support like Shuri with a tank like Captain America, and you've got a duo that can shield and sustain your team in the toughest battles. Plus, with ongoing updates, there's always something fresh to explore. New characters are always being added, and you can unlock other characters and costumes from Marvel movies, shows, comics, and more, such as the recent release of Blade and his team of Night Stalkers. This month, there's also an exciting new PvE mode called Battle World where you can participate alongside your alliance to earn some awesome rewards. The best part? You can start building your dream team right now for free. Jump in, get your starter character, and experience epic battles right away. And for those looking for even more excitement, we're still celebrating the spooky season. So you can use the promo code Halloween to get 100 free shards for Zombie Iron Man, 600,000 gold, and 480 L2 training modules. So what are you waiting for? Use my link in the description to download Marvel Strike Force today. Assemble your squad and become the hero or villain the Marvel Universe needs. First things first here, we're definitely going to be doing... Okay, so I'm not a fan of doing a fake drum roll on the top tier. Everyone knows what the top tier is for the most part. So let's just be real here. What we have for categories is must play, should play, B tier, could play, C tier, deck dependent. I'm also going to put thrust targets in here. And D tier is there's better out there. So here we go. S tier, must play, everyone knows, Maxi Ashe. Why? Well, because you want to Ashe Maxi. You want to Maxi your opponent. If you're going first, you're going second, whatever. Maxi is broken. It needs to be banned. It's the best card in the damn game. I mean, there's no real conversation here. Ash Blossom, I think just being 3 strong Maxi outs is just extremely important for the vast majority of decks. Even decks that don't special summon as much will want to run Ash for Maxi. Like, I'm thinking a deck like Labyrinth. Yeah, it doesn't special summon a million times, but still getting Maxi'd can hurt you. And you probably would Ash it if you could. Not as must play in those decks, and of course the one exception would really be like Stun, where I feel like Ash might not even be necessary at all. But yeah, generally speaking, I would say Ash Maxi are must play in the vast majority of decks. Let's do Red Reboot. I think Red Reboot, okay, this one might be a little copium. I'm gonna put it in this tier. You could say it's deck dependent, or even there's better out there. I think a lot of people don't run Reboot right now. But I like Red Reboot. I think Red Reboot is really good. I'm never too mad about having it. Dodging Imperm can be very important at times. So having like an extra card, because Called By doesn't stop Imperm. Crossout stops it, but that's like a single card in your deck. So if you're running Reboot, you get more outs to Imperm. And also, a lot of decks just have like a trap that they set up turn 1 that can be pretty impactful, especially right now in the format. If you're going second, most likely you're playing against a deck that's trying to set up a board that will beat Tenpai. So because of that, a lot of going first turns in Master Duel right now are very ceiling focused and have like very, very high power boards. So definitely, I think, you know, an out to searchable traps and counter traps is definitely not bad. I do think you could put this lower, but just from my own personal experience and my own bias, I really like this card, so I'm going to put it in could play. This might be the most questionable of my picks. For the most part, I think this list is going to be pretty damn easy to agree with. So next up here, we're going to do let's do Imperm. I used to put Imperm in must play, but right now I wouldn't do that. I've noticed a lot less decks playing Imperm, probably because of the popularity of Tenpai. A lot of people are playing like the essential hand traps. It's not to say that you're not playing it. This is going to go in should play, so it's more of a thing of like deck space. But I've noticed a lot of people, they'll want to run some board breakers more so as a must-play card, just so that if they go second, they can deal with the insanely high ceiling boards that people are setting up turn one. Whereas like Imperm, first of all, it's useless against Tenpai, you know, because like during the main phase, they can still do all their stuff. It's not completely useless, I guess. Like you can use it in the battle phase since their field spell doesn't protect them. But generally speaking, I just feel like Imperm is not quite as crazy as it used to be. Again, like you're most likely running this if you have space for it. There's really like no reason not to run it if you have the space, but I feel like it's no longer a must play card. It's more so like you should play it. I also just think like I put too many cards in must play on my past staples tier lists. So yeah, it's still a crazy card, you know, A tier, high A tier for me. Next up, we're going to do Heavy Storm. I think this one is deck dependent and more so a thrust target. Heavy Storm, you know, it can go with a lot of different board breakers like Heavy Storm, Raigeki. When I see the other ones like Dark Hole, for example, these are all cards that are really good going second. Good, you know, thrust targets. Dark Hole at the bottom because it pops your own monsters. It won't be as popular, won't see nearly as much play, but they're all really strong cards in general. You know, Harpy's Feather Duster, when I see it, I'll put it here as well. These are deck dependent mostly because you won't really be running these, or you won't be running a lot of them if you're not playing a dedicated going second deck. That's not to say you won't play any. I see a lot of people run thrust and run like one of each board breaker, so like one monster board breaker and one like spell board breaker. So you'll see a lot of people run like Heavy Storm or Harpy's Feather Duster and a single Raigeki, 3 copies of thrust, and if it comes up going second, then you know they'll go for it. And speaking of thrust, I guess we'll do this right now. I'm putting thrust like a really high could play. Again, amazing card. So like I hope this helps kind of see where I'm going with for this tier list here. Thrust is an insane card. Just the fact that you can search basically any normal spell in the game is crazy, but it's mostly useful going second, which means I think it'll see less play, or it's like not as good to play as talents if your deck wants to go first. If your deck wants to go second, for instance Tenpai, or if your deck is cool with either, like a deck that sets up traps, for example, like a Labyrinth, where even if you're going second or first, thrust is going to be doing a lot for you in Labyrinth, you know, then I feel like thrust might be better. But generally speaking, I think running 2 to 3 copies of talents is really, really strong, especially going first. It helps play through hand traps and stuff like that. Whereas thrust, since your opponent controls no monsters, it's only going to set a monster on the field, especially now that Gamma is going to be going to 1 with this new ban list. Like the odds of your opponent controlling a monster on turn 1 are going to be a lot lower. So, because I don't think anyone's really going to play Gamma. I guess that's a bit of a spoiler for later in the list, but yeah. So in my opinion, talents just a little bit better. I'm putting both of these at the top of could play. Basically, the way I'm ordering this list is like the cards here you must play. Then if you have space in your deck, you're probably playing the ones here. And then if you still have space in your deck, you're probably playing the ones here. That's kind of my logic for it. So okay, here's Harpy's Feather Duster. I'm just gonna put this here. We're gonna put it in this order. So it's like Harpy's Feather Duster, Raigeki, Heavy Storm, Dark Hole being like the worst one out of the bunch. Next up, well, we just talked about it, so might as well do it. Gamma at 1. I see a lot of people coping about Gamma, saying that because Gamma's at 1, they're just gonna run the, I think it's Delta, the one that negates spells. So you run like 1 Gamma, 1 Delta. That's crazy. My logic for why that's crazy is because if you were going to do that, you would have just run the Delta already to have like 3 reasons to run Driver in your deck. As it stands, running 1 Gamma and then another just random spell negate just to justify the Driver in the deck makes no sense to me. I don't think that's really going to take off. In my opinion, there's better out there. I really don't think at 1 Gamma is really going to be seeing any play like that. Okay, next up here, we're going to do, okay, this one's pretty interesting. I don't know how many people are going to agree with this. I'm going to put Droplet at the top of should play. I think you play Droplet over Imperm. in Master Duel right now. This card, first of all, if you're playing against Tenpai and you're going first, Droplet is so much better than Imperm as like a set card that you can just set on turn 1, and just like it's so good in the battle phase against Tenpai. Now, of course, there is a caveat here. If Tenpai gets their field spell and they get their full combo, they can just set up their board in such a way that, you know, like they can summon their level 10 synchro, and then you can't activate Droplet in the battle phase. So it's not like a end all be all. It's not always going to save you against Tenpai. You need other interruptions to deal with the field spell. So, you know, like it's definitely a bit, it can be tricky. It can be tricky, but I do feel like this card is really, really good against Tenpai in general. And more importantly, going second, I feel like you need the Droplet in this format, specifically because people's boards are so overbearing to deal with Tenpai. So if you're not playing Tenpai and your opponent makes you go second, you really want to see Droplet. And since it's both good going first and going second, and it helps you get to lethal, it's just such a versatile card. In my opinion, it's at the top of should play for me. And we'll do like the last of the must plays just to give you an idea here. So yeah, Called By. I think Called By is a must-play card. I mean, it just outs so many hand traps. Not to mention, it also is useful in just like random situations against like graveyard monsters that you want to just negate. Sometimes your opponent's going to summon a monster and you want to negate that monster. They have another copy in the grave. You negate that by, you know, banishing it from the grave. So there's just so many applicabilities to this card. It really is just absolutely insane. There's no reason not to play Called By really in the game at the moment. It's way too good. So definitely a must play in my opinion. And these are the only must plays. I think Maxi, Ash, Called By, only must plays in the game. And then you have, you know, the Droplet, the Imperm, and following that, okay, this is another difference from my last list. I'm not going to put Crossout in must play. I'm going to put Crossout in should play. And yeah, this, I know this looks weird, but again, it's because like in theory, I think all of these, if you have the space, should be in your deck. But if you have like just like Maxi, Ash, Called By, I don't think you play Crossout. That's why I don't want to put it in must play, because I feel like you would put the cards in your deck in this order. So it's like you would put Maxi, you would put Ash, you would put your 2 Called By, then you put your 3 Droplet, your 3 Imperm, you still have a spot. That's when you want to throw in Crossout, because, you know, you want to have good Crossout targets. When Crossout can negate sometimes Forbidden Droplet, Imperm, Ash, Maxi, that's when Crossout feels really good, especially since you can't Called By Imperm. But like, if you don't have the space for all these cards and you're just kind of running Crossout like this, I don't love it. And especially I don't like running a Crossout with a bunch of one-ofs, like running 1 Imperm, 1 Droplet, 1 Duel, you know, one of a bunch of random cards just to be able to cross them out when it's a single copy in your deck. I don't think it's very good deck building. So that's why I'm not going to put it in must play. I just think like this 6-card package here, if you have the space, is likely what you should be going for in most decks. There are deck dependent cards that are better in certain strategies, you know, but just generally speaking, I would say this is like the main Master Duel package right now, at least as far as I would play it. Next up, let's do Nibiru. I think Nibiru is bad right now. Like, I don't think it's good. I mean, you can run it. I'm saying bad, but that's like very much exaggerating. Basically, in this list, it's all staples, right? Every single card is good on some level. Like, Gamma's not a bad card. There's just better out there. Nibiru's not a bad card either. It's just by the time your opponent gets to the 5th summon, if like they're playing, like most decks will just have a negate or will play through Nibiru anyway. And then there's also the fact that in Tenpai format, Nibiru is just a brick pretty much. Like, it just is useless. It can't be activated in the battle phase. And they'll be unaffected during the main phase because of their field spell. So that makes Nibiru really, it just feels awful to have in hand in a lot of scenarios. In my opinion, Nibiru is just not very good right now. I don't think it's unjustifiable to play it. I just think, you know, you need to have a lot of free space in your deck. Or, you know, you're just that guy. You're just built different. Sometimes Nibiru, if you have multiple copies plus a different hand trap into matchups other than like Tenpai and Yubel, it can actually be quite good. So I don't want to completely discredit it, but I don't think it's the best pick in general. Next up, we're going to do Lightning Storm. Lightning Storm is going to 2 on this new ban list, but I still think it's crazy. I still think it's a great card. I mean, going to 2, I still think it's the best of these board breakers. I'm going to put it in deck dependent because all these like dedicated going second cards. I don't really feel comfortable rating with staples that you can run in just anything. Yeah, it has a, you know, you could technically play it in anything. It is really good as a going second card, but then going first is just a dead card, you know, so you have to just accept that. Now that it's a 2 of, you might see more people play one of this one, one of this one, one of this one, and just play 3 thrust for going second. If it was me and I was playing 3 and it went to 2, I'd just keep playing 2. And yeah, probably a thrust. Like, I'm probably already playing thrust anyway, honestly, so it's really not that big a deal. So I don't think that really affects the placement of Lightning Storm that much to go to 2. I still think it's just a fantastic card. All right, next up, let's do Ghost Ogre. I think Ghost Ogre is a really good card. Ghost Ogre just has like a lot of good applications in the format. Of course, it's a UR that a lot of people don't want to craft because it's not always relevant in every format. But right now it's particularly good, like just dealing with field spells, dealing with the Tenpai field spell can be like super helpful. And there's just so many scenarios where removing a card is damn near better than negating it, honestly. Like, Ghost Ogre is really strong. You know, it deals with continuous cards as well a lot of the time, like the Horus engine, for example. If you're playing against Tearlaments and they go like Sarcophagus, you just pop it. There's just so many scenarios where this card is good. If I had more copies and I would probably run this more often. It's a really good card. I'm going to put it in should play. Well, actually, do I put Ghost Ogre over Talents? That is curious. Okay, I'm thinking about this a little differently now. Whether you're going first, going second, Talents just helps with so much. Going second, helping you deal with interruption. Going first, allowing you to play through interruption. Ghost Ogre is really good, but if I had the choice between, it's more likely I would probably run Talents, honestly. Yeah, I'm going to put Talents actually in should play. I'm going to put Ghost Ogre at the top of could play. This is an amazing card, like everything I just said, but the more I think about it, this card I'm more likely to put into my deck. So yeah, I'm going to do it this way. Let me know if you disagree with this. I understand that this card is crazy, by the way. I hope this, you know, whenever I make a tier list, I feel like decks that are not like here, the cards, I mean, in this case, that are not like here or here are just regarded as me saying they're just bad. That's definitely not the case here. Literally no card on this list is bad because we're talking about staple cards. Every single staple card on this list is good on some level, right? Next up, we're going to do Moonlit Chill. Okay, Moonlit Chill, I just don't have it, and I don't want to spend the UR dust on it. But every time I get hit with Moonlit Chill, I cry a little bit. This card is so insane. It's just better than Valor, honestly. And while we're at it, Valor, for me, I'm probably putting pretty low in, like, could play. Like, I'll put it above Reboot, maybe, but Valor, this format's not great. Moonlit Chill is significantly better. Valor can't activate in the battle phase, which means it's not going to help you against Tenpai, whereas Moonlit Chill can like negate their synchro on summon during the battle phase because it just negates a monster if it's special summoned. It doesn't really care about the phase. You know, it does target, so it doesn't play around like targeting protection. But yeah, it's just like more applicable. Also, the burn effect can kind of come up sometimes. Just generally, it's just a really versatile card. It's really amazing if you have the space for it. I think this card is really good. I think it's better than Ghost Ogre personally, but that's like that's an actual conversation. But yeah, if you have Moonlit Chill, it's really strong. I just don't have it, and I don't want to spend 90 UR dust on a playset. That being said, if I did have it, I would definitely run it. Next up, we're going to do D-Shifter. D-Shifter is going to go at the top of deck dependent. This is going down to a single copy per deck. I used to put this in S tier because, like, realistically, it's like the second best hand trap in the game if you can run it. But it's very deck dependent, actually. It's not like every deck can run it. So I definitely don't want to put it that high anymore. I don't think that really makes sense, especially since when you look at this list, it's more so ordered by, like, how many decks do you want to throw this card in? So like, this is like, you want to throw it in every deck. This is like, if you can throw it in, you definitely want to. This is like, it depends, but you probably could, and it probably would be good. And then this one, like, you literally need a deck that can play under Shifter, you know? So definitely, in the way this list is ordered, I can't really put Shifter higher than that. It is an insane card, obviously. D-Shifter, just shutting off the graveyard, making it so everything gets banished, is broken. It's a crazy effect, but I definitely don't feel super comfortable putting Shifter much higher, especially at one copy. It's really just going to be a sacky like floodgate that you can draw sometimes, and it'll win you the game sometimes if your deck can run it. So yeah, that's top of deck dependent for me. Next up, let's do Dark Ruler No More. Right above Droplet. Just kidding. I think this card is bad. Okay, I said that again. It's not bad. It's Dark Ruler No More. It's really good, but I do think it's just not well suited to Master Duel, basically. First of all, if you're going second and you go Dark Ruler No More, and then your opponent goes Max C, you know, your opponent takes no battle damage that turn. So whatever you do, you're giving them draws. So you might end up going Dark Ruler No More, they go Max C, and then you're like, oh, I guess I'll pass and I'll let you have your turn 3. Otherwise, you might just go, fuck it, I'm going to try to break the board. You're going to break the board and in the process give your opponent like 15 draws. So because of Max C, really, I think Dark Ruler No More is just not very, very good. You know, like, also it's a best of 1 format. If your deck wants to go first, this card is completely dead. So it's only useful going second, and it doesn't let you go for game. Like, Droplet is just better in every way, in my opinion, especially since you can set it turn 1 and use it as a very, very strong interruption late after you've used up all your interruptions. Yeah, so in my opinion, Dark Ruler No More, there's literally better out there. It's right here. It's Droplet. I think it's not even a debate. Like, seriously, I used to really think they were close, but yeah, no. Maxi makes this card so much worse. Just so much worse. At least with Droplet, if they Max C, you can close out the game. You can even split your opponent's attack to, like, make it even easier to close out the game. So yeah. All right, next up, let's do Duel. I think Duel is quite good right now. I wouldn't rate it as highly as a lot of other people would. Like, personally, I think you're better off running Ghost Ogre or Moonlit over Duel. Duel is not that good against Tenpai, really. Like, Tenpai can play under Duel quite well, and Tenpai is super popular. Duel is pretty good against Yubel, you know? Like, there are decks that Duel is crazy against. It's just like when I play right now, it really does feel like Duel would not have made a difference in most matchups. So I definitely don't feel like it's like the craziest card ever. Snake Eyes is still a thing, by the way, and Snake Eyes does play really well under Duel. Snake Eyes is not like the best deck ever right now, but it is still a thing, and it plays super well into this card as well. So yeah, I don't know. I don't think Duel is that great. I don't think it's bad either. It's going and could play. Like, it's obviously a crazy card, but it's just like, in comparison to these above here, I would definitely prioritize most of these cards, including Thrust, over Duel most of the time. I think Thrust and Duel are pretty interchangeable depending on the deck you're playing, to be honest. But yeah, so I'm going to put it here just out of personal bias for Thrust over here. Next up, we're going to do, I guess, Ghost Bell. Ghost Bell it's good. It's definitely better than Valor. Yeah, I think above Valor makes sense for Ghost Bell. Again, doesn't have the most application, and sometimes it feels like Ghost Bell is not doing enough, but Ghost Bell sometimes also just wins you the game, so you really can't sleep on this card. It's definitely not bad, and if you're running it, I don't think it's like a bad option or anything. It's just like, I wouldn't put it much higher than this. I do think it's better than Valor, though. The only thing, honestly, I feel like Red Reboot is better than Valor, but it's less applicable, so I don't want to go that crazy. I think Valor's just not the best to play right now. It's not bad. It's just not the best to play right now. Next up, let's do Super Poly. Yo, actually, Super Poly is somewhat deck dependent. I was going to put it in deck dependent, but you can actually just throw Super Poly in anything you want to throw it in, right? That one is weird. It does take up slots in your extra deck, because I was going to put it like a high deck dependent, but it is a crazy card that you can technically run into anything if you just like throw the 2 or 3 important Super Poly targets in your extra deck. So taking up extra deck slots is a big price to pay, but this is one of the best cards in the game. Okay, this is gonna be weird. I'm gonna put it above Ghost Bell. Yeah, like, I think you're way more likely to want to run Droll, but if you're down to spend the extra deck space to have one of the best going second cards in the game, or going first, like, you can use this card the same way you use Droplet. I might be putting this too low. I'm struggling to like choose where I put it, just because you are hurting your extra deck to run this card, but what you get for that is one of the best cards in the whole game. It's actually so insane. Being able to remove any 2 monsters your opponent controls without, you know, like, them being able to respond is super, super stupid. Yeah, because, like, realistically, this card could be up here, like right under Droplet, but not every deck would want to gimp their extra, so then you could put it here. But again, it's like, are you really more likely to run this than this, or this? I guess that becomes deck defense. This one is hard to rate. I'm gonna put it in bottom of should play. Nah, that doesn't look right. Nowhere looks right for Super Poly. Actually, I can't decide. Guys, let me know what you guys think. Where should we even put this? Like, Super Poly is so weird. You're gimping your extra deck, which is a big deal. But holy moly, this is one of the best cards in the game. I'm gonna leave it here. I think, yeah, I'm gonna leave it here. It's so broken, so broken. And next we're gonna do Evenly. I think Evenly goes in. There's better out there. Evenly is just weird because, like, if you're playing a go second deck, you don't want to play Evenly. You want to go for game. And if you're playing a going first deck, you're very likely to go first because Tenpai is likely to make you go first. So, well, I'll say you're more likely to go first than usual. So it's just a weird format to be running a card like Evenly. I think it's too limited in its applications. It's not to say it's a bad card. I just think like you'd be better off running a Droplet, for example, which is something that is good going second, but can also help you if your opponent makes you go first, or if you choose to go first, etc., etc. So because of that, I think Evenly just not super well situated right now. Not a terrible card by any means. Probably better than Dark Ruler No More, honestly. So yeah, something like that. I think that's going to be the Staples tier list, you know? I think it makes a lot of sense. I'm looking at the list. I don't think it's a bad list at all. I would like your thoughts in the comments. Maybe there's something on here that looks like a crazy L take, but I don't really see it. I feel like the list overall is pretty solid. Maybe some people will disagree with some of my there's better out there at the bottom, but honestly, that's the whole point of these videos, right? Driving conversation a little bit. And it does feel pretty refreshing to make a tier list. It's been a while. And I feel in my element right now doing this. So yeah, let me know if you guys enjoyed the video. Let me know if you know, you hated it, whatever. Just let me know in the comments. Just talk to me. Just talk to me, bro. All right, that's enough of me. I'm done yapping. See ya.